Microphone. On. Call to order Board of Zoning Appeals for June 27th, 2022. Before we get started, I just want to check as far as I know we've got several folks on remotely. Mr. Polar, are you out there? Does not appear so. Okay, we were anticipating that one of our members would join remotely, so we will get started without Mr. Polar, and if he jumps on, we'll adjust accordingly. First order of business tonight is approval of the minutes from the June 13th, 2022 meeting.
Chairman, I recommend approval of the minutes, June 13th, 2022.
Second.
A motion by Mrs. Peters, second by Mr. King. All those in favor, raise your right hand. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries 3-0.
I'm here.
I will give you the opportunity for, I will have you verbally vote each time after I take the vote here in the chamber, Mr. Polar. So what is your vote, yay or nay?
On the minutes?
On the minutes.
Yay.
Okay, so motion carries 4-0.
Since we have one person remotely, let's do all the votes by roll call, please.
All by roll call? Okay.
Yes.
Then we will do that. Do you want me to go back and do them again? Okay. All right, next up is any special requests or continuances? None. All right, move on to findings of fact, BCA 2022-011. It was a development standards variance for Greenwood Parks and Recreation for 411 South Madison Avenue.
Mr. Chairman, in consideration of the statutory criteria, I move that we adopt the written findings of fact as presented, incorporating the evidence submitted into the record as our final decision and final action for variance petition number BCA 2022-011.
Second.
Motion by Mr. King, second by Mrs. Peters. Mr. King, your vote?
Yay.
Mrs. Peters?
Yay.
Mr. Polar?
Yay.
And I am a yay. That motion carries 4-0. 1 second. Okay. Moving on to BCA 2022-018, development standards variance, also for Greenwood Parks and Recreation at 411 South Madison.
Chairman, in consideration of the statutory criteria, I move that we adopt the written findings of fact as presented, incorporating the evidence submitted into the record as our final decision and final action for variance petition number BZA 2022-018.
Second.
Motion by Mrs. Peters, second by Mr. Polar. Mrs. Peters, your vote?
Yes.
Mr. King?
Yay.
Mr. Polar?
Yay.
I am a yay. That motion carries 4-0. All right, BZA 2022-015, development standards variance for Crossroad Engineers for the property at 2807 South State Road 135.
Mr. Chairman, in consideration of the statutory criteria, I move that we adopt the written findings of fact as presented, incorporating the evidence submitted into the record as our final decision and final action for variance petition number BZA 2022-015.
Second.
Motion by Mr. King, second by Mrs. Peters. Mrs. Peters?
Yay.
Mr. King?
Yay.
Mr. Polar?
Yay.
I am a yay. That makes that one passes 4-0. Next up is BZA 2022-019, a development standards variance for Evan Iyer of Sign Crafters on behalf of Mike Holcraft for the property at 620 Trayborn Drive.
Chairman, in consideration of statutory criteria, I move that we adopt the written findings of fact as presented, incorporating the evidence submitted into the record as our final decision and final action for variance petition number BZA 2022-019.
Second.
Motion by Ms. Polar. Motion by, I saw him pop up on the.
I'm not even here.
Peters, second by Mr. King. Mrs. Peters.
Yay.
Mr. King.
Yay.
Mr. Polar.
Yay.
I am a yay. That motion carries 4-0. Wasn't expecting to see your face, Mr. Polar.
Well, I didn't realize I didn't have the camera on.
Very good. All right, we have no old business. Do we have any old business from the floor? Seeing none, we'll move on to new business, starting with BZA 2022-021. This is a development standards variance for First Baptist Church of Greenwood, requesting relief from the Unified Development Ordinance. There are actually 4 different requests within this one variance, so we will take them individually here. The first is to allow playground in a front yard. The second is to allow for less than 50% mortared masonry on all front elevations. The third is to allow for less than 30% transparency on all front elevations. And the fourth is to allow for greater than 20% metal cladding on the front facade elevation. All those wishing to speak either for or against, please stand, raise your right hand, and be sworn in by our secretary.
Do you swear or affirm these for perjury? The testimony is true to the best of your knowledge.
I do. Is there anyone online that wishes to speak to this petition? Okay, seeing none, I assume you're going to start. Yes, sir. If you would, when you get to the podium, state your name and address for the record, and then tell us why you're here.
Colin Osborne with S&B Construction, address 8740 East 30th Street, Indianapolis, Indiana. With S&B Construction, we are the project manager for First Baptist on this project. We are looking for these variances with the playground, starting with the playground. We would like for that to be on the south side of the building, directional south. We feel that's the best place for that because of future growth of the daycare facility.
Okay. And then on that one, do you have your answers to your statutory criteria with you?
Yes, sir.
Okay, we will need to walk through them. We'll go with this one first, the front yard playground. Specific to that, the approval will not be injurious to the public health, safety, morals, and general welfare of the community because
The playground will be fenced in with landscaping along the fence. There will also be landscaping along the curb to help screen the view. Another positive reason for locating the playground next to the building is that it provided closer proximity to the building should the children of our community ever encounter a life-threatening situation. There's a school located at Honey Creek Road in which the location would be considered a front yard elevation, and it is immediately next to the road, right away, possible potential of being in harm's way or risk of strangers approaching.
Number 2, the use and value of the area adjacent to the property included in the variance will not be affected in a substantially adverse manner because
Currently, this site is a farm field. It has been master planned to be a church campus, and the first phase of this project is the Children's Academy, which will benefit the community because studies show that the city of Greenwood is lacking in quality daycare, childcare. The following phases include a gathering space, office wing, multi-use space, and finally a new sanctuary. With the location of the middle school across the street from this new facility, parents will have the option to enroll their children for after-school care. This is not a traditional daycare. This will be a STEAM academy preparing young students for school.
Okay, number 3, the strict application of the terms of the zoning ordinance will result in practical difficulties in the use of the property because
The current location of the playground allows for future growth and development of the academy and the church. With the current shortage of childcare in the Greenwood area, the church is expecting growth to happen fast. And if the playground is required to be relocated, will need to be moved to accommodate expansion. First Baptist of Greenwood has master planned the property to be able to continue to grow with the addition of a gathering space, office wing, large multi-use space, and finally a new sanctuary. The uniqueness of this site proves a hardship because all 4 elevations are visible from common area and streets.
Okay, number 4, the structure is not regulated under Indiana Code 8-21-10-3 for hazard air navigation. I'm going to go ahead and let you discuss variances 2, 3, and 4, and then if anyone has anything to add in general to any of those, we'll do that, and then I'll let you speak. I know you have some comments as well. We do have 15 minutes typically to present, 15 minutes to remonstrate, 5 for rebuttal. So I'm going to try to keep all of these within that time frame.
Okay.
If we need to be a little gracious because of the number, we will. Okay. Number 2, allowance for less than 50% front elevation masonry. Tell us a little bit about that, and then we'll go through again your statement of reasons on that as well.
The design of the building, we felt the brick should just be to a certain height and then with an ephes above. But we are willing to increase the brick up per staff's request.
Okay. And their approval will not be injurious to the public health, safety, morals, and general welfare of the community because
The construction of the building and materials design are using standard construction methods and standard building materials used for commercial building. The way the building is being built adds to the general welfare because of a lack of qualified childcare located in the city of Greenwood.
And number two, the use and value of the area adjacent to the property included in the variance will not be affected in a substantially adverse manner because
The reduced amount of mortared masonry will help the building blend in easier to the actual residential zoning to appear more of a school than a commercial structure. Oftentimes, a school or daycare center located in a residential neighborhood may increase the value of the home and popularity of a neighborhood, whereas a more commercial appearing building could actually create a negative impact and decrease the value when it is located in a residential zone area.
number three, the strict application of the terms of the zoning ordinance will result in the practical difficulties of the use of the property because
The design of the building fits most commercial building standards with the material that has been designed, which satisfies the needs of the STEAM facility and the students. The building was designed to encourage a more relaxed and caring atmosphere. Future growth and development of the church and the academy provide a hardship in meeting the 50% mortared masonry on the north and west elevations as shown on the plans. In the future, growth and development we will meet zoning ordinances. The uniqueness of this site proves as a hardship because unlike a corner lot with two elevations visible from the street, we have the remaining two elevations also visible from the street.
number four, the structure is not regulated under Indiana Code 8-21-10-3 for hazard air navigation. All right, number three, let's talk about the allowance for less than 30% front elevation transparency.
With the construction of this building in the packet, I created an elevation that showed the way the building is constructed. In a lot of the areas, there are structural members where we cannot put windows, or we have a lower ceiling, so you have your plenum space for your mechanical, and then you have your structure of the building itself. But again, we are working with staff, we are increasing the glass a little bit.
Okay. And the approval will not be injurious to the public health, safety, morals, and general welfare of the community because
The amount of transparency that we have on the building helps with the security of the students that are in the building. The glass that is being used meets all safety requirements by state and local codes. The construction of the building adds to the general welfare of the community because the city of Greenwood has a lack of quality childcare.
number two, the use and value of the area adjacent to the property, including the variance, will not be affected in a substantially adverse manner because
The current site is a farm field which has been master planned for a church campus. The first phase is the Children's Academy with the addition of a gathering space, office wing with a multi-use space, and finally a new sanctuary. Oftentimes, a school or daycare center located within a residential neighborhood may increase the value of the home and popularity of the neighborhood. Whereas a more commercial appearing building could actually create a negative effect and decrease the value when it's located in a residential zone area.
and number three, the strict application of the terms of the zoning ordinance will result in practical difficulties in the use of the property because
The windows have been shown in all areas that are accessible. The structure of the building is structural steel with roof deck height between 15 and 17 feet. The roof structure beams are 1'9" deep, and we have room above the ceiling for mechanical plenum. The ceiling height is 9'6". The windows are 6 foot tall and are 2 feet above the finished floor. There are storage room and structural elements prohibiting us from more windows in these elevations.
and number four, the structure is not regulated under Indiana Code 8-23-10-3 for hazard air navigation. All right, and then the final one is variance number four, which is to allow for more than 20% front elevation metal cladding. Talk to us about that.
This is where this metal is located. That is going to be the first, could be the first expansion for the building, for their gathering space, which would the church really needs to be able to keep doing all of their activities that they do right now.
Okay, and the approval will not be injurious to the public health, safety, morals, and general welfare of the community because
Allowing metal siding on the building is not injurious to the public health, safety, morals, and general welfare of the community.
and the use and value of the area adjacent to the property, including the variance, will not be affected in a substantially adverse manner because
The use and value of the area adjacent property will not be affected in an adverse manner because the building has metal siding.
And number 3, the strict application of the terms of zoning ordinance will result in practical difficulties in the use of the property because
The metal siding was added to the design of the structure because the academy and the church has a master plan for this site for future growth and expansion. This material allows for growth and expansion. This material allows for this growth easier in the future without wasting a lot of material. On the north elevation, this is where a future gathering space and multi-use space will be added. The uniqueness of this site proves as a hardship because unlike a corner lot, which is visible from 2 streets, this site has visibility to the other 2 elevations for streets and common areas.
Okay, and number 4, the structure is not regulated under Indiana Code 8-21-10-3 for hazard air navigation. So you are aware the staff found no issue with your statement of reasons. They were favorable to all 4 variance requests. They did provide a recommendation, provides positive recommendation for relief from the 50% front elevation masonry minimum all facades with the following 2 conditions. 1, the south and west elevations fronting Avert Road and Stop 18 Road meet a reduced 30% masonry minimum. And number 2, final building elevations, site configurations shall substantially conform to Exhibit B, Exhibit C, and Exhibit D that was turned in. And you're good, you have no issues with either.
Correct.
Do you have anything else to add before I see if anyone else?
No, sir.
Is anyone else wishing to speak in favor of this? Not Mr. Nelson?
Yes, the main thing to really consider with this site is our Unified Development Ordinance says that if the facade is visible from a public or private street through common area, that it is to be treated as a front elevation, our building design standards. Well, they have a corner lot really with 3 street frontages, but on the north and on the west side, they have common area where you can visibly see the property from a public or private street. This essentially gives them 4 front elevations, or they're not necessarily front elevations, but they're to be treated like front elevations, which did make this a difficult site to design architecturally. That's all.
All right, anyone wishing to speak opposed to this? All right, seeing none, I guess I'll give you one final chance. Do you have any additional comments before I close the public hearing?
No, sir.
All right, we close the public hearing. You still out there, Mr. Pollard? Oh, there you are.
I am now. You froze up there for a second. I have no questions.
All right. Seeing none, are all the notices, receipts, affidavits, everything in order?
Yes.
We have, the legal department has submitted to Stevie certified copies of all the ordinances referenced in the staff report. We request that those be included in the official record.
Okay. I'll take a motion to adopt all those into the record. I guess before I do that very quickly, Stevie, I think we're missing. Oh, gotcha. Okay, thank you. So they're all combined. All right, I'll take a motion to accept accept all those into the record.
Chairman, I move that we admit all the evidence presented in regard to this matter, including the notices, receipts, maps, photographs, written documents, petitioner's application and attachments, petitioner's detailed statement of reasons, the staff report prepared by the planning department, certified copies of the Unified Development Ordinance and Comprehensive Plan, testimony of the petitioner, city planning staff, and any remonstrators, and all other exhibits presented, be they oral or written, for consideration by this board in regard to this petition, and to include the testimony of those present this evening.
Second.
Motion by Mrs. Peters, second by Mr. King. Mrs. Peters, your vote.
Yay.
Mr. King,
Yay.
Mr. Pollard,
Yay.
and I'm yay. Motion carries 4-0. I'll take a motion on the ballot itself. We are taking all 4 into one vote here, it looks like. So.
Mr. Cranner, I think that's, if you look at it, it said PC 019, or I'm sorry, BZA 019.
Yeah, Mr. Polar, since you were not here, we did note that at the beginning, and Stevie did provide us with an updated ballot, so we will have to get you the updated ballot. The ballot is correct. The number is wrong, so if you would just, I guess, cross that out, make it -21 and initial it.
I can do
Is
that.
that acceptable from the attorney, the legal side? Okay, yes, we have a affirmation that you can do it that way.
Then Stevie can disregard the email I sent her.
Okay, I will take a motion on the ballot.
I move we approve the 4 variances since they're combined with the 2 conditions listed in, excuse me, in the staff report.
Motion by Mr. King,
Second.
second by Mrs. Peters to approve with the 2 conditions in the staff report. I will read them just for the record. Number 1, the south and west elevations fronting Averitt Road and South 18 Road meet a reduced 30% masonry minimum. And number 2, final building elevations and site configurations shall substantially conform to Exhibit B, Exhibit C, and Exhibit D. Mrs. Peters, your vote?
Yay.
Mr. King?
Yay.
Mr. Polar?
Yay.
And I am a yay. That motion carries 4-0. I'll take a motion to ask the Corporation Council draft written findings of fact.
Mr. Chairman, having considered the statutory criteria, I move that we direct the corporation, excuse me, Corporation Counsel's Office to draft written findings of fact regarding our decision on the variance request presented in variance petition number BZA 2022-021. Said findings to specifically incorporate the staff report and evidence submitted into the record for consideration and adoption by the Board of Zoning Appeals as our final decision and final action regarding this petition at our next meeting.
Second.
Motion by Mr. King, second by Mrs. Peters. Mrs. Peters?
Yay.
Mr. King?
Yay.
Mr. Polar?
Yay.
I am also a yay. That motion carries 4-0. You guys are welcome to proceed. We will take final action at our next meeting, but in the meantime, you can go to staff and get going. So, all right.
Thank
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
While they're vacating, we're going to do a quick procedural swap of the attorneys here for the board. Yes, thank you. All right, moving on, next item on the agenda. So the next 2 are actually tied together.
Incorrect.
Well, they're same presenters, correct?
Different presenters, and one of them did not get their items in, so they'll be
Okay.
requested a continuance.
Okay, so will that be on 20 or 22 for the?
22.
All right, so we'll go on with BZA 2022-20 or 020, which is development standards variance for Lori Burgart on behalf of Target Corporation, requesting relief from the Unified Development Ordinance with on-premise signs allowed by permit and maximum dimensions of a building wall sign, 200 square feet on the front wall, maximum 100 square feet on the side wall. The ask is to increase allowable signage on the west front elevation from 200 to 539.6 square feet, and to increase allowable signage on the south side elevation from 100 to 367.7 square feet. Those wishing to present, please stand and be sworn by our secretary. Great. Oh, or if you are online, I think Ms. Burgart is online.
I am online. Can you hear me okay?
We can hear you. You're a little bit tinny, but we can hear you. Okay. You do not have video, Ms. Burgart?
No, I'm sorry.
No,
I'm sorry. I'm
actually
actually traveling. I apologize. My connection is horrible.
Okay, no problem. So I'm gonna have you sworn in by our secretary verbally here. You alone. at this point. So Stevie, if you can administer the oath to her.
Do you swear no penalties for perjury? The testimony is true to the best of your knowledge.
I'm sorry, was that directed at me? I apologize. I have a horrible echo on my connection.
Yeah, sorry, I'm trying to get you sworn in by our secretary. So if you could verbally acknowledge her oath.
Oh, yes.
Okay. All right. Is there anyone else remote wishing to speak to this petition? All right. Is there anyone in the chambers that's going to speak to this petition? I'll go ahead and have you sworn. You two sworn.
Do you swear no penalties for perjury? The testimony is true to the best of your knowledge. Yes.
Okay. Who is going to present initial information? Is that you, Ms. Burgart? You're going to tell us why we're here?
Sure. So Target has
I'm
been
sorry.
launching
I'm sorry. Can I
a
interrupt?
program nationwide.
Ms. Burgart, sorry.
Yes.
Can you please state your name and address for the record? We do need that first.
Sure. It's Lori Burgard, 1332 West Bartlett Way in Chandler, Arizona, 85248.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Now, if you would continue on, tell us why you're here.
Sure. So Target has been launching a nationwide program. You may have seen it in other municipalities that they're switching out from the red bullseye and the uppercase letters to a new white bullseye with lowercase letters. And what we're requesting will bring this store into the same program that's been happening across the country.
Okay. And do you have your answers to the statutory criteria with you?
I do have a copy.
We'll need to go through those. And so I'll get you started if you would respond either with what you've provided or what you want to say, either way. But number one, the approval will not be injurious to the public health, safety, morals, and general welfare of the community because, and this is specific to the first one, right, to the increase to 539.6 square feet. And they may be, your answers may be the same. No, there is some slight differences, I think. So on this one, the approval will not be injurious to the public health, safety, morals, and general welfare of the community because. Are you still
I'm
with
sorry,
us?
did you want me to read my statement?
Yeah, yes, if you could read your response to that, please.
Sure, no problem. Target Corporation, being a well-known national retailer, has corporate identity criteria for exterior signage. The addition of this branding keeps within these corporate guidelines and in no way harms the public health, safety, morals, or the general welfare of the community. It is identification of the brand along with letting the community know, for example, there is a pharmacy located within the store. And with the new requested signage that this store will now offer a drive-up order pickup option.
Okay. Number two, the use and value of the area adjacent to the property included in the variance will not be affected in a substantially adverse manner because.
The increase on signage allowable square footage has no adverse effect on the surrounding properties. The west elevation faces commercial properties, which are across to the west of State Road 135.
And number three, the strict application of the terms of the zoning ordinance will result in practical difficulties in the use of the property because.
Target is a national retail brand with corporate identity specifications. The setback of the store from State Road 135 is such that an increase in square footage allows for visibility to passing traffic.
And then number four, the structure is not regulated under Indiana Code 8-21-10-3 for hazard air navigation. Let's do the same for the second request of the sidewall or the side wall, which I believe is the south facing. to allow for 367.7 square feet. Number one, the approval will not be injurious to the public health, safety, morals, and general welfare of the community because
Target Corporation, being a well-known national retailer, has corporate identity criteria for exterior signage. The addition of this branding keeps within these corporate guidelines and in no way harms the public health, safety, morals, or the general welfare of the community. It is identification of the brand along with letting the community know, for example, there is a pharmacy located within the store, and with the new requested signage that this store will now offer a drive-up order pickup option.
And number two, the use and net value of the area adjacent to the property included in the variance will not be affected in a substantially adverse manner because
The increase on the signage allowable square footage has no adverse effect on the surrounding properties. The south elevation is visible for traffic traveling northbound on South State Road 135. The signage is obscured from the property to the south by a parking lot road fence and mature trees.
And then number three, the strict application of the terms of the zoning ordinance will result in practical difficulties in the use of the property because
Target is a national retail brand with corporate identity specifications. The setback of the store from State Road 135 is such that the increase in square footage allows for visibility to passing traffic.
number four, the structure is not regulated under Indiana Code 8-21-10-3 for hazard air navigation. Okay, so the staff had some comments and findings. One, they so with the front facade, that they found that due to the existing amount of wall signage on the front facade, the proposed new signs with variances would actually result in an overall reduction of signage on this facade. And then with number two, the south side facade, that they wanted to note that due to the lack of visibility from State Road 135 northbound, the increased size of the sign provides no noticeable benefit or purpose. So they did have 2 or 3 conditions for the front facade, which is this. Number one, the sign substantially conforms to the rendering depicted in Exhibit C. Number two, all existing wall signs with the exception of the CVS sign will be removed from the building prior to installation of the new signs. Number three, a completed sign permit application be applied for and issued before modifications occur. I assume you have no issues with any of those 3 on the front facade? Okay, I'm good. And then on the second variance with the south side sign request, the 2 conditions are that the sign substantially conform to the rendering depicted in Exhibit C. And number 2, a completed sign permit application be applied for and issued before modifications occur. So Ms. Bergar, you're aware of all those conditions and have no issue?
I'm sorry, could you repeat that one more time?
You're aware of the conditions that the staff proposed and you have no issues with them?
Yes, I am. Yes,
Okay.
I am.
All right, do you have anything else to add?
Well, I do beg to differ with the staff recommendation of denial for variance number 2. I understand they sent me pictures of what they saw from where they were standing on South Road 135. And I believe that when you get to the stoplights there, that sign is very visible when you get through that intersection.
Okay.
So I think that there really is no issue. It's part of the Target sign program.
Okay. I'll go ahead, Mr. Nelson. I know you have some comments and that there was some staff notes. So I'll let you speak to those.
We were favorable with the first petition. It does sort of make sense with the large parking lot in front of the building as well. It's quite a large setback. The side elevation is really an access drive to their parking. And to the south of it, there are some wooded areas without businesses located at it. The sign is obstructed by this when you're driving on that road. It may be visible at times, glimpses through it. But we do provide on that side elevation 100 square feet of signage which is more than adequate for someone to see the target signage.
Anyway, are you, either of you wish to speak or add?
Probably for the against.
Oh, okay. So let me, before we go to that then, Ms. Burgard, anything else? I know you did speak your comment about that side. Anything else before I turn it over to the demonstrators?
No, I think that's all I have to offer. That's all I have to offer.
Which one of you wants to start? Okay, if you would go to the podium and state your name and record, or name and address for the record, please.
Hello, my name is Leslie Reynolds. My address is 1631 Lakes Park Drive, Unit L, in Greenwood, Indiana. And I'm a resident and owner of in the Pinehurst condominium. It's directly southeast of Target. So right behind the Target, basically, is where we are. And that's what I would like to speak against personally, is the south variance that is being asked for. I agree with the findings that as you're driving on 135, you cannot see that side of the building at all. When you get to the stoplight, as the lady speaking before had mentioned, yes, you can see that side, but there's also a big Target sign right there at that stoplight as well. So that's gives plenty. Our concern is, or my personal concern is, I read where currently there's a wall, a fence line, and there's some mature trees, and that's great in the summertime. But in the wintertime, I can tell you those leaves are gone. We can see the dock for Target, we can see the side of the building, and that's just going to be a big bright light shining in our faces, basically.
Okay. Do you wish to add anything? And also name and address for the record.
Sure. Karen McGregor, and I'm at 1631 Lace Park Drive, Unit J, Greenwood, Indiana. I agree with Ms. Reynolds. We, in Pinehurst, we deal with semi trucks unloading, and we hear all the clanging and banging, and you get used to that. But if we have to also have to deal with a light that's going to be shining in our direction. Like you said, in the summer, it's not so bad, but in the winter, those trees do leaves. So I just don't think we need a sign that is that huge on that side of the building. So I can't think. That's just the main concern, is just the brightness. And also, well, I won't talk about that. But anyway, that's the only thing I really had to say.
Okay. Appreciate it. Ms. Berger, any response to that? You have 5 minutes.
Target wall signs are typically only lit during business hours. I believe that they stay on up to an extra half hour after the store closes for the evening. So they're not on all night.
And what?
If there's some criteria that you would like to add, that you prefer that.
Okay. I've got questions I'll ask after I close the public hearing around that. All right. Anything else to add? Right, seeing none, I'll close the public hearing. I will note that Mr. King.
Yeah, I'm abstaining.
Mr. King would like to abstain due to some potential conflicts of interest. So just Ms. Peters, Mr. Poehler, and I. All right, Ms. Peters, any questions?
Yes, my first question, I guess, is, well, are there any current signs on the south elevation at all?
Ms. Berger, did you hear that question? Okay, staff, can you respond to that?
No, there are currently no signs on the south side elevation.
So this would be something brand new. It's not replacing any signs, is what you're telling me.
Correct.
Okay, then that would answer my question.
Any other questions?
Not at this time.
Mr. Poehler, any questions?
No questions.
Okay. The only question I would have had in addition to what Ms. Peters asked is, I can't remember what is the closing time of that particular store? Ms. Burgart, do you know what time that store closes?
She's muted.
It's 10 p.m.
I think it's 10 as well, which means the light would be on till 10:30 at night. Okay. All right. I will are all the receipts, notices, affidavits, everything in order?
Yes, they are.
And I did place a certified copy of the comprehensive plan and the unified development ordinance into the file.
Okay, I'll take a motion to accept all of them into the record.
Chairman, I move that we admit all the evidence presented in regard to this matter, including the notices, receipts, maps, photographs, written documents, petitioner's application and attachments, petitioner's detailed statement of reasons, the staff report prepared by the planning department, certified copies of the Unified Development Ordinance and Comprehensive Plan, testimony of the petitioner, sitting planning staff, and any remonstrators and all other exhibits presented, be they oral or written, for consideration by this board in regard to this petition, and to include the testimony of those present this evening.
Second.
Motion by Mrs. Peters, second by Mr. Polar. Mrs. Peters, your vote.
Yay.
Mr. Polar.
Yay.
And I am a yay. That motion carries 3-0. I will take a motion on the ballot. Well, for request number 1, a motion on increasing the maximum allowable sign size to 539.6 square feet.
Chairman, I recommend that we approve the request with the conditions cited in the staff report. The 3 conditions. 1, the sign substantially conforms to the rendering depicted in Exhibit C. All existing wall signs, with the exception of the CVS sign, will be removed from the building prior to the installation of new signs. And number 3, a completed sign permit application to be applied for and issued before modifications occur.
Motion by Mrs. Peters,
Second.
second by Mr. Polar. Mrs. Peters,
Yay.
Mr. Polar,
Yay.
and I am a yay. That passes 3-0. We'll take a motion on number 2, which is increase the maximum allowable sign area on the south side to 367.7 square feet.
Chairman, I recommend that we deny this request.
A motion to deny. Do I have a second? If I do not have a second in this situation, what do I do?
If there's no second, then the motion dies for lack of second. Is there an alternate motion?
I move that we approve request number 2 with the 2 staff conditions.
And I have no second there. So let me ask, can I ask a rules of procedure question as far as if we have a motion and someone seconds it, it does not necessarily mean that they're seconding
We're
their,
not voting on it. It just puts the
Just
motion
putting it
on
to
the
vote.
floor for a vote.
okay.
Yeah.
So again, I will take a motion.
Again, I move to approve request number 2 with the staff's 2 conditions.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion to approve with the 2 conditions, and just to be clear, the conditions are that the sign substantially conforms to the rendering depicting Exhibit C. And number 2, a completed sign permit application be applied for and issued before modifications occur. And so I have a motion by Mr. Fuller, second by Mrs. Peters. Mrs. Peters, your vote.
Nay.
Mr. Fuller?
Yay.
And I am a nay. That pass, that will fail 2-1.
And so what happens is if you do not get a majority, then it's a no action and it is placed on the agenda for the next meeting.
Okay.
We will,
Yep.
yeah, reconsider.
So, Ms. Burgart, did you hear that and understand that?
I'm sorry,
Well,
I
hi,
got kicked
everyone.
out of the meeting.
I'm
I
sorry.
got kicked out at the end of the meeting.
Oh, okay. So
Yeah, at the end of,
the number one passed, so you are good, you're good on that. Number two failed on a request to approve, which means it's not denied, it just has not been approved. It will be on the agenda again at our next meeting, where you can attempt again to get a majority. And that'll be on July.
okay, I understand. Can I just make one more comment?
Can
We,
I-
Here it is.
The hearing, the public hearing's closed, so
okay,
I apologize, but I cannot take any more comments on it. But you'll have that opportunity on the July 11th meeting.
okay, that's,
Okay.
thank you very much. I appreciate your time.
Okay. All right, I will take well, we don't need to draft, do we draft written findings of fact on that?
One.
Can do findings of fact for number one.
Yeah, oh, yes, okay, can you draft the corporations council, please?
Chairman, having considered the statutory criteria, I move that we direct the Corporation Counsel's office to draft written findings of fact regarding our decision on the variance petition. Variance request presented in variance petition number BCA 2022-020 for the first request. Said findings to specifically incorporate the staff report and evidence submitted into the record for consideration and adoption by the Board of Zoning Appeals as our final decision, and final action regarding this petition at our next meeting.
Motion by Mr. Peters,
Second,
second by Mr. Polar. Mr. Peters,
Yay.
Mr. Polar,
yay.
and I'm a yay. That motion carries 3-0. Okay, and then I believe for BZA 2022-022, so we have a continuance request.
Yes, they should be on Zoom for the request.
Yep, I'm here. I would like to request that it be continued to the July 11th meeting.
Okay. Can I take a motion from the board to move that?
So moved.
A motion from Mr. Fuller to allow for a continuance of 2022-22 to be at our July 11th meeting.
Second,
Second by Mr. Peters. Mr. Peters, your vote.
yay.
Mr. King,
Abstain.
is still abstaining. Mr. Fuller,
Yay.
and I am a yay. That motion carries 3-0. So we will take that on the July 11th meeting. I probably should have asked, do we have anything on the agenda for the 11th?
We do now.
So we will just add to what was on there. Okay.
And we have some findings of, to adopt as well.
Okay. Okay, any new business from the floor? Seeing none, any announcements?
I got a question.
Yes, Mr. Fuller?
I'm gonna still be on the road on the 11th and just want to get a confirmation on the rules of procedure. Since that would be my second meeting in a row that I'd have to attend virtually, is that an issue?
No, you're allowed to miss two. If you had a third one, you would have to be for good cause. That's all.
Okay,
You're still good.
all right, thanks.
Any announcements, Mr. Nelson?
No announcements from staff at this time.
Sean?
No, sir.
Um,
Do we plan to have a forum on the 11th?
I will be here.
I will be here.
Probably. Okay. I assume Mr. Mole will be back, or do we know? Yeah. Okay, so we'll be good.
I haven't heard, no.
I take a motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn. That I can do.
All right, we are adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you.